Hello and welcome to Diabetes and Insulin Resistance. Thank you so much for deciding to spend a little bit of time with me today to learn about how you can start taking steps to reclaim your health. My name is Teresa Flaw, and I'm the owner of Empower and Flourish, which is my health and wellness company where I teach foundational health truths that I believe you need to know right now if you want to start improving or reversing your symptoms. I have had the opportunity to work in many different aspects of the traditional healthcare world for the last 26 years, and I have seen firsthand how broken our healthcare system is and how it's failing so many of the people that I care about. And honestly, I've had enough. I'm so frustrated to know that my friends, my family, and members of my community are suffering when there is a better way. A safer way, a more cost-effective way, and best of all, there's a way that doesn't include side effects. Do you want to know what the only side effects are that come with improving your health by making different daily choices? There's side effects like less medications, having less time taken out of your day to go to the doctor's office, paying less copays, undergoing less testing, and having less middle-of-the-night, terrifying trips to the emergency room. Just less. And hospitals and doctors' offices can be really dangerous places. Medical care is actually the sixth leading cause of death in the United States, and that's largely due to the side effects that medications cause patients that patients are receiving while in the hospital. These side effects kill an estimated 106,000 Americans every year. And that number is only reflecting the number of deaths that are occurring from people that are taking the drugs the way they were prescribed. An additional 7,000 people die every year from receiving the wrong medication by mistake. And 20,000 more people are dying from other hospital errors. Hospitals are really dangerous places. Now, before we get started, I want to shift gears and talk for a minute about a few myths or untruths. First, is managing diabetes with medications really the best or the only option? I know that this is a very common belief among everyone, including our healthcare professionals. And most of what I was teaching nursing students while working as a nursing instructor was about medication side effects. But this is a myth, and it's just not true. Managing diabetes with medications is not the best or the only option. In fact, controlled diabetes, if there is such a term, actually continues to damage your organs and your heart. Yes, even if your hemoglobin A1C is in what they would consider to be the normal range, there's still damage occurring to your organs and your heart. And 80% of diabetics die of heart attacks and strokes. You see, the extra insulin from the prescription your doctor gives you is accelerating the hardening of the arteries, which leads to heart attacks. And there are lots of other diabetic-related complications that are leading to atherosclerosis and inflammation and all sorts of issues with your heart. So to review, managing diabetes with medications is not the best or the only option, contrary to popular belief. And we don't want to control diabetes because even in a controlled state, diabetes is causing damage, particularly damage to your heart and to your organs. Next one, the ADA diet, which is the diet, the way of eating that's encouraged by the American Diabetes Association. Is this the best dietary choice for balancing your blood sugar? No. No, it is not. The diet encouraged by the American Diabetes Association is not the best way of eating for balancing your blood sugar. And when people eat this way, they're actually missing a lot of really important nutrients, and they're really lacking in fiber. And fiber is so important. The ADA diet also leaves you feeling hungry and unsatisfied, so then you're eating more, and often you're eating more of the wrong things. All right, last one. Once you're diabetic, that's just the way it is. You're going to be this way forever. Do you think that's true? It's not true. And you can become diabetes free. And we're going to talk about some of the ways that that can be possible for you if you're willing to start making some different daily choices. Sound good? You ready to get started? Okay, when I am trying to learn about a new topic, I sit down and I try to answer these questions. The who, what, when, where, why, how questions. And my goal is always to get to the so what part. Like, how does this affect me? Why should I care? Like, so what? So my goal is always to get to the heart of the matter, so to speak. And that's how I would like to share with you today, starting with the who. So who does diabetes or insulin resistance affect? Well, it's affecting nearly 26 million Americans, which is 11.3% of adults that now have an official diagnosis of diabetes. And nearly 80 million, which is 35% of adults, qualify as having pre-diabetes. And if this trend continues, it's estimated that 1 out of every 3 American adults could have a diagnosis of diabetes by the year 2050. And almost all adults in the United States will eventually take prescription medications for their heart, diabetes, cholesterol, or blood pressure. And 51% of people that are age 65 or older are taking 5 or more prescription medications every day. All right, now let's talk about the what. What is diabetes or insulin resistance? I really had a hard time with this because I'm a nursing instructor and I want to give you the pathophysiology and how it's all working, and I actually started to write it out that way and realized that that was insane and nobody wants to listen to all of that, including me. Like it was too much. So I found this book, The End of Diabetes, that's very well done. I have a lot of respect for the way Dr. Furman explains things, and I like the way he explains what diabetes is and what insulin resistance is. So he explains that every cell in your body needs energy to function, and glucose is the main energy source. This glucose is coming from the foods that we eat that contain carbohydrates, which are sugars and starches. And glucose from the digested food that we eat is circulating in our body, and then our cells are using it for energy. Now, insulin is a hormone that's produced in our pancreas. And insulin binds to a receptor site on the outside of your cells. And this receptor site insulin on the receptor site is acting like a key to open a way for the glucose to enter your cells. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more later about what happens. So I want you to sort of keep that picture in your mind. It's acting like a key. And when there isn't enough insulin produced, or when the doorway no longer recognizes the insulin key, the glucose stays in your bloodstream. It can't enter your cells. It's just kind of hanging out. So diabetes is when the glucose rises in your bloodstream because it can't be transferred from the blood into your tissues, and it can't be used by your cells for energy. Does that make sense? So why does this happen? Why isn't there enough insulin? And why does the doorway stop recognizing the insulin key? And we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. But first, let's talk about why you should even care about diabetes and insulin resistance in the first place. So why should you care? Well, you should care because diabetes and insulin resistance can be reversed. You can. It's proven in the evidence. You can reverse. I've seen this firsthand. You can reverse diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, and lose a dramatic amount of weight, all by making different daily choices. And this is super important because even with adequate glucose control, if you remain diabetic, the illness is going to age you prematurely and shorten your life. And because I cut out a whole bunch of that advanced pathophysiology stuff, we haven't really talked about how diabetes affects your cardiovascular system. Your cardiovascular system's purpose is to keep you alive by circulating blood and then transporting nutrients, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and hormones around your body. The effects diabetes has on your cardiovascular system is huge, like mind-blowingly huge. But there are so many other complications. I thought my entire nursing career, my whole 20-ish years in the medical field, I thought that the main complications related to diabetes were kidney failure, heart disease, stroke, blindness, and neuropathy, like peripheral neuropathy and a diabetic's feet. I had no idea. Even after I took a bunch of advanced pathophysiology classes in graduate school, I had no idea that diabetes was also linked to so many other things. You guys, the research shows us that insulin resistance is a major condition that underlies many chronic metabolic diseases, including but not limited to, and I won't read all of these to you, but cancer is on there. Cancer is linked to insulin resistance, fatty liver disease, polycystic ovarian syndrome, Alzheimer's disease. I had no idea. No idea. So think of insulin resistance like the central culprit, like the bad guy that's elevating your risk for most chronic diseases. And think of insulin resistance as the root cause. If you've seen anything else I've done, you know I love this slide. The root cause, all the stuff going on beneath the surface. Think of insulin resistance like the root cause that's accelerating the development of cardiovascular disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, and obesity, which are also our leading causes of death. As though that wasn't enough, why else should you care? Well, researchers found that the average person with type 2 diabetes is incurring anywhere from about $6,600 to $13,700 in healthcare costs that are directly related to their diabetes every single year. So I'm not a math girl, but I did that math. That's like $500 to $1,000 every month just to take care of their diabetes. That's 2.3 times more than people are spending that don't have diabetes. The last reason I want to share with you today in this Why Should You Care section is because receiving the diagnosis of diabetes dramatically increases your risk of developing many chronic diseases. And I know we just talked about that, but what happens is that this makes it more likely that you're going to be absent from work, which means you're going to be either using all of your vacation time for sick time or you're going to be out money, and more likely that you're going to be less productive at your job. That's got to be impacting promotions and opportunities like that, and then you're at a risk for dying early. Next, I want to talk with you about when diabetes and insulin resistance happens. So first, I want to mention that it's not uncommon for a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes to be given to our children. To our children. Dr. Greger tells us in his book, How Not to Die, that there's a study titled A Potential Decline in Life Expectancy in the United States in the 21st Century. And this study found that the steady rise in life expectancy that was observed in the modern era may soon come to an end. And the youth of today may, on average, live less healthy and possibly even shorter lives than their parents. Ouch. And as far as the when goes, it's probably been happening silently in the busy background of your life. Because even an extra 5 pounds on a normal body frame can lead to diabetes. Excess body fat is the most significant cause of type 2 diabetes. And remember when we talked about why there isn't enough insulin, and I asked the question, why isn't there enough insulin? And I asked the question of why does the doorway stop recognizing the insulin key? Well, one of the big reasons that this happens is because of fats. Fats, primarily animal fats, build up inside our muscle and liver cells, which interferes with insulin function, causing insulin resistance. I talk a lot about animal products in some of my other programs, and this information just knocked my socks off. I had no idea that this was happening, and so many people are getting fatty liver disease. I mean, it's really scary. All right, I want to talk briefly about medications. Now, there is a common misconception that the medications we take that have been prescribed by our doctors are safe. And this is just not true. They're actually supposed to sit you down and discuss the benefits versus the risk of the medication, and then you're supposed to agree about whether or not you think that the benefits are outweighing the risk in your life. And not only is that not happening, but they're not really explaining that every medication, all medications, the over-the-counter medications that you can just go to the drugstore and buy, the prescription medications, all medications have side effects. And all medications can lead to additional problems. Now, the majority of medications that are used to lower blood sugar, like the class of medications called this thing I cannot say, so we're going to let the computer say it for us.
Sulfonylureas.
Yes, those. The class of medications called sulfonylureas also cause weight gain and place stress on your pancreas, which is already not working well. Do you recognize any of those medication names? Are they in your medicine cabinet? So assuming that you have followed me so far, and assuming that you have the desire to improve, reverse, or even maybe prevent diabetes and insulin resistance, the next question that we should be asking is how? How should I proceed or get started? Teresa, how do I do this? And that is a great question. And I want to start with food, not because it's necessarily the most important thing or even the number one answer. There are lots of things you're going to need to do. You make a lot of choices every day, and a lot of the choices you've been making have not been serving you well. But I want to talk about food first because most of us are eating multiple times every day. So what you're choosing to put into your mouth multiple times every day is really important. So what should you eat? Now, the research is crystal clear on this. You should eat a lot more plants. Your body needs the micronutrients and the phytochemicals that come from plants. And when you eat these foods, especially in large enough quantities, the micronutrients and the phytochemicals are going to flood your bloodstream and start repairing your cells. A plant-based diet has been shown to be 3 times more effective at improving blood glucose control compared with a conventional diet. So eat more plants, lots of plants, all the plants. Eat a nutrient-dense diet. And I know that is way easier said than done, and that it can be overwhelming to figure out where to start. But there are a lot of resources available that can help you, and I would be thrilled to be one of those resources. And diet alone, not making any other changes, just diet can have tremendous results. Dr. Furman shared the following results in his book. 90% of participants were able to eliminate or reduce their medication by 75%. So he's referencing a study that they did, and 90% of the people that played his game and ate the food that they recommended, the plant-based food, were able to eliminate or reduce their medications by 75%. They didn't do anything else. They just did the diet. And the average hemoglobin A1C dropped from 8.2 to 5.8. Participants also saw a drop in their systolic blood pressure from 148 to 121. And this was while medications were being decreased and then discontinued. I do have to caution you, if you do decide to change your diet, or if you decide to make other significant changes to your current lifestyle and you're taking medications for diabetes or high blood pressure, cholesterol, you've got to be very careful. Those medications were prescribed for your old lifestyle. So if you start making changes, your blood sugar might start to come down really fast, and you don't want to be over-medicated. So it's a very good idea to let your doctor know that you're starting to make changes, and then to keep really close eye, like really good control over what your blood sugar is. Start becoming self-aware, keep track of your numbers. But do know that glucophage or metformin does not cause the blood sugar to drop too low, and it doesn't cause weight gain. So Dr. Furman thinks that this is the preferred medication, and it's the one he recommends that his patients stay on while they're making lifestyle changes if they need to stay on one. Okay, so that's a whole lot of stuff about diet. What else can you do? Well, I know you already know this, but I have to tell you that if you're smoking, it's really bad for your heart and it's causing you a lot of problems directly related to diabetes and insulin resistance. And I didn't know that as a healthcare provider. I knew that smoking was bad for your lungs, and I knew it was bad for your blood vessels, but I didn't really understand how that connected to diabetes and insulin resistance. And I also implore you to start moving more. They say that a tracked number grows, and what that means is if you start focusing on something, if you start tracking it, then more of your attention is there and it will start to improve or grow. And they also say that anything less, you're not going to want to be my friend anymore once I tell you this. They say that anything less than 10,000 steps a day is considered to be a sedentary lifestyle. 10,000 steps is a lot. And a sedentary lifestyle is compared to having a pack a day smoking habit. Ouch, I know, I'm sorry. You also need to work on increasing the amount of deep and quality sleep that you're getting each night. Again, I recommend tracking, particularly if you have one of these smart watches that can track your heart rate. There's a lot of sleep apps out there. And once I started tracking my sleep, it made a huge difference and increased my quality of sleep exponentially. And consider implementing intermittent fasting, which has a whole host of health benefits. And don't forget about weight loss. Weight loss is critical because it's directly tied to type 2 diabetes. Now, I realize that you're probably thinking, Teresa, I would love to sleep better, wake up feeling rested and refreshed. I would love to learn more about this intermittent fasting thing, but where would I start? Well, you can do what I did, and you can start with Google, and you can start pouring through the books. I'll give you a list of the books that I've mentioned here. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take discernment, praying for discernment, keeping your mind away from people that are offering you quick fixes and just take this one supplement and all of your problems will go away. You can start with Google and do the research yourself, or you can come and play with me in the 90-day Jumpstart. And I say that not because I want to sell you a program, because God told me to create the program, and whether anybody ever participates in it or not, I'm just being obedient. I'm telling you that because I can save you a whole lot of time and a whole lot of energy and a whole lot of frustration because I've already done it. I know how it works, and I understand how busy people are and how to deliver the information in a way that you can digest it and do something with it. All right, so where can you go to learn more? That's our final question of the day. Well, like I said, I would be thrilled, beyond thrilled, to help you inside the 90-day Jumpstart. The 90-day Jumpstart is the best thing I've ever created. It's so good. It's all God. He really worked with me over the last couple of years to develop this, and it's all of the best stuff that I've ever taught. It's all the foundational truths that you need to know right now in order to start improving or reversing your symptoms. There's a link below that you can follow to learn more. There's a video that explains the details, but it's basically everything I wish I had known when I was starting out on my own healing journey. You'll learn how your daily choices are unintentionally making you sick and how to start making different, more educated choices. You're going to learn about how these daily choices are silently compounding in the background and how to regain control by slowly, one step at a time, starting to choose differently. I'll be with you every day for the whole 90 days, answering your questions. There can be as much back and forth as you would like there to be. I really want to answer your questions, and I'm going to be teaching you little bits at a time, like 5 to 15 minutes of teaching a day. And then you'll have the opportunity to take immediate action on what you're learning, so you're not just getting information overload. I'm going to teach you about a concept, now go do. And it's easy, it's not going to take too much time, and it's just awesome. So it's an amazing program. My students so far have learned so much. You can see some of the testimonials on the screen. Teaching is honestly my favorite thing to do. I love to help people reach their health goals. I love to teach. And I would love to hear from you. So I would love to know, what did you learn today that surprised you? What did you learn that gave you hope? What's one thing that you plan to do differently based on what you've heard today? Thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed having the opportunity to speak with you, and I really do love questions. It's like my favorite teaching style is to answer questions, because then I know, what you need. So let me know if you have any. Let me know how I can best serve you. Thank you for your time, and I hope that you have an amazing day.